Delo from Hindley Street Country Club, known widely as the world's greatest cover band. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Great to be here, Greg, and great to all the listeners too. Hi to everybody.
Yeah. So when did this band start, and what were the goals when you started out?
We started in November of 17, and initially just started as a promo for Adelaide Recording Studios with my then co-founder Darren, and we went in there, just recorded a couple of tracks, and then it just morphed into another track, and then we threw it up on YouTube, on Facebook, I beg your pardon, and it was so. And then a dozen or so videos in, there was a bit of interest that was growing, and nothing of any note. But then we just we persevered at it, and it wasn't till about our 70th video that things started really going nuts.
Yeah, so
like 7-0.
Yeah. Well, now you've got 370,000 subscribers and 135 million views.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
When did you first get an inkling that this was going to go nuts?
That's a really, really good question, Greg. There were moments in some of the recordings where we were in the studio, in the little basement studio, and we just felt something. I don't know. There was a couple of songs that we just, something was good there. So, and then we're all older guys, Greg. We're not in rock stars and so forth. So we were all very tongue in cheek, and we had a lot of fun with it. And then when we did an arrangement of just the two of us, the old Bill Withers Grover Washington track, and it was good. I mean, we mucked around with it, we rearranged it, and it was good. But that was the one that things just went mad. But yet there was actually, in my opinion, there were better tunes before that could have and should have warranted what had happened. But that was the one. And that was around about the time when Bill Withers passed away as well. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. And also lockdown, people were home.
Yeah. I noticed with your YouTube channel that the audio quality is really high. How important is that to you and the band?
Well, for me, it's very, very important. Very, very important. I mean, they're all tunes, they're all cut live, and then we just pick the best take, and it's mixed through Logic and so forth. And yeah, sound is very important.
Yeah,
very, very important.
As I said, you've been called the world's best cover band. Have you played overseas?
I have, yes, all over. We're from China in the early mid 90s. I was in the Middle East. I was in America. All over Southeast Asia. Yeah, I've done a lot of international work.
Yeah.
So basically, what happened? What Hindley Street Country Club is all the tunes that I know that I played all around the world. The songs that I know that will work. You know what I mean? So that's where a lot of the song choices come from, and it's demographic specific as well. It's that for 45s and up.
Yeah, it's unusual for a bass player to be a musical director, musical arranger in a band. Traditionally, it's the keyboard player that handles that sort of. What is it about arranging that you like?
Surprisingly, most these days, a lot of bass players are the ones that are making things happen. Like the bass player from Snarky Puppy and the bass player from. Well, just a lot of, because I think bass players, their phone doesn't ring a lot. I guess they got to go and get the hustle on that. They create work.
Yeah. Have you ever had any feedback from any of the original artists that you're covering?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had most notably Christopher Cross was raving about one of our arrangements of his tune of "Ride Like the Wind," and then there was John Waite. Paddy Smythe, Mick Fleetwood. There's a Peter Criss from Kiss. Who else was there? Without trying to, not that it matters, because they're just musicians like us. But getting the people that have written the original songs or have performed the original versions have been complimentary, and that's great because as a musician, you a lot of times you want to play well for your peers. I mean, the guys out of Hall and Oates, a lot of those guys in that band.
Yeah, right. So the band is very tight. What's your rehearsal regime like?
There's no rehearsal.
No,
There's no rehearsal. The way that it works is I'll tell the guys this is the 2 songs we're doing on the session. We do 2 songs over a 4-hour period. I say to the guys, these are the songs, and learn the songs in their roundabout in their original form, obviously learning all the heads and so forth. And then on the day, then I'll come in there with a different arrangement. I'll say, look, I want a different chord here. I want to we'll add a section here, or we'll take out a section. So then I just play with it, and I don't tell the guys what the arrangement is, because then I like them to be thinking about it, so it happens raw and organically then and there. Yeah. So in that respect, yeah, because a lot of people on the channel, Greg, they'll ring up and they'll write and say, how much do you rehearse? How long do you rehearse before you do the record? No, we don't. We get in there, everything's mic'd, we hit it. We get our levels where everyone's happy. And these days we're using a lot of in-ears from Shaw. Shaw have come on board as our principal sponsor, and they've just given us just like a ton of gear. So everything's sounding even better than it ever has off the back of good gear. And as you know, good in is good out, And the players that I use, I make sure they're at they're good level players, of course, and they with studio experience, it all happens quickly. But then we'll fine tune the arrangement, then we'll run it a couple of times, and then we'll press record, and we'll do maybe 3, maybe 4 takes, and then we'll pick the best take. Yeah, and that's the one that goes onto YouTube.
Yeah, tell me about your stage rig that you use in the studio and live.
These days, I'm using Laney, and people when I switched over to Laney were like, Laney, and they reached out to me and said, look, try this gear, because I've always been a Gallien-Kruger guy, and with SWR boxes, which is like back in the late 80s, and it's like your ears get attuned to a certain sound. So then I tried a bunch of other brands like Aguilar and the GK speakers and a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, then Ian Wright out of he happens to be here in Adelaide of all places, is one of the big boys with Laney. They said to me, look, could you try it? You're interested in using our gear? And I thought, as a bass player, and I'll give it a try. I just knocked my socks off. I just couldn't believe it. I was so used to the old school, that big bottom end floating around in the lower frequencies that don't do anything except create noise, and mud. So I tried, and I was just shattered. I couldn't believe how good they were, just how even they were, and clarity of tone. And I generally set my stuff pretty much flat anyway, like most bass players do. But so I use that in the studio and live, and it's been a real godsend for me. Now they've got a whole new range coming out, which they've asked me to use as well, and so I'll be pushing their new Digabeth range soon. So yeah, I wouldn't ever play any gear that's not good gear. You can't. Your sound is your everything, So I'm very happy with Laney at the moment. Could not be happier, truth be told.
Yeah. What about bass heroes growing up? Who were your bass influences?
Good questions, Greg. Good questions. The first guy that knocked me off my feet was still Lewis Johnson for me. Then there was Marcus, and then there was the real heavy studio guys like Nathan East and Neil Steubenhouse, and all Anthony Jackson's still my hero. He frightens me, that guy. Guys that were playing a lot of the tracks out of the LA scene, really. And of course, Pino Palladino, he's another one. And yet people said to me, are you into Jacko and stuff? I said, oh, you can't not be into Jacko. He was, he was revolutionary. But to be that revolutionary, he had to make the bass the focal point. It's like, everything he played on, it all became about the bass. I mean, he was just frightening player. But I could never get into. He was so musical that a lot of it would go over my head as a kid. I think a lot of what he does goes over a lot of people's head. You know, he was a virtuoso. But for me, if I was to shape it all, would be Nathan East, because his body of work, his consistency of work. But the one that scares me is Anthony Jackson.
Yeah. South Australia has done pretty well during COVID over the last 18 months, apart from a few outbreaks. Have you been able to play live much this year?
We did 2 nights back in May, and the country club only really works in Adelaide once a year. Right. So we do one gig a year. But outside of that, my other work's just dried up. It's been awful. Like it's decimated us. And I'm sure all your listeners and your readers would agree. I mean, it's just, and the frustrating thing is, Greg, I'm not talking about just the arts in as a whole. I'm just talking about just musicians. I just find it a little bit frustrating when our industry has been decimated, but yet whenever there's a big benefit, who's the first people they call to put on big concerts? It's just a little bit frustrating, I think.
For sure. You debut your YouTube content on a Friday afternoon.
We do Friday afternoon on Facebook at 4:30 or 5 o'clock Eastern time, but we do it on YouTube at 8 a.m. on a Friday morning for the American audiences, which is their Thursday night.
Yeah. How do you determine which song you'll be performing?
Well, whatever we've recorded, we've normally got 4 or 5 tunes in the bank. So they could have been recorded a month ago or 6 weeks ago or whatever. So what we're releasing tomorrow was actually only recorded last week or earlier this week. But it'll just depend. I'll do a bunch of songs that are up, or then I'll do a yacht rock thing that's maybe more cruisy or groovy, or it'll just depend on how the audience and our subscribers are reacting to the tune before, perhaps. And we get a lot of the people that participate in the country club, they've got their own fans as well as a result. So they say, when is so-and-so going to sing again? So I do cater to some of the public with public's request, but you can't keep everyone happy. When you've got to this point, there's so many subscribers, as you said earlier, and views, you just can't keep everyone happy. So I just try and stay true to the genre and try and be as cool as we can with the fans and give them what they want. I lost the luxury of doing a lot of songs we did earlier in favour of some more commercial stuff, because that's what's driving the product at the moment anyway. So I just trying to, I mean, you're never going to hear me do Jesse's Girl or that kind of thing, of course, but I lost the luxury of doing what I wanted about, well, song choices about 2.5 years ago.
All going well. You're coming to Melbourne to play the Palms on October 15th. Have you?
Are you in Melbourne?
I'm in Melbourne. Yeah.
Oh, right, great.
Yeah. So have you?
Yeah, with it on the 15th.
Yeah. Have you performed much in Melbourne?
No, I did in my earlier days when I was out touring with people, but not since then. But Palm's a beautiful room, Greg. It's just beautiful. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that on the 15th. And tickets are selling really well. It should be a sellout. Maybe a month or so before the event even happens.
Yeah. So it's actually the debut performance for Hindley Street Country Club then in Melbourne.
In Melbourne, yes. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So what does the future hold for the band? How long do you want to keep doing this?
The musician in me is just happy to play, you know what I mean? But the businessman in me has got to keep it viable, because people give of their own time. And I'd like to be doing a lot more stuff, nationally and internationally to bring, get these guys out on the road so they've got money coming in every week, and earning a living from it. That's always been my goal.
Yeah.
Just to keep working. I mean, at the end of the day, musicians want to gig. And the best thing about doing a gig is that all of your listeners will know, if you're doing something that the crowd's coming to see you with, not just a band in the corner, they're digging what you're doing. I mean, that's a gift. We're blessed.
Yeah.
We're blessed.
Yeah.
All right, Con, it's been great to chat, and we look forward to more fantastic YouTube clips.
I hope so, brother. And thank you for your time, and a big shout out to all your listeners and readers and subscribers of your own. I think it's a great job that you guys do.